give us the bird. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet Rivers sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Well, welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck. Alongside me, as you can see, is Simon Holden. Over the course of the next half an hour or so, we'll be talking our way through a massive game in the Championship in England, the second tier. Burnley take on Leeds. It's third versus first. We've also got some Serie A football for you, plus La Liga. And by way of Mr. Nigel Seeley, we do have selections on 3 separate tennis tournaments that Nigel has passed on to your good self, Simon. Simon, how are you, first of all?
Very, very well, Dan. Fantastic to be here. Yes, I've spoken at length with the great man Seeley today. And can I just say before we forget, of course, that he'll be live in Montpellier from Wednesday to Friday. So please look out on the old Instagram account for some exclusive content there. Live from the beautiful city of Montpellier, Dan. I know you've been there many, many times.
Do you know what? I've never been to Montpellier, but I can reveal that James Easton, who of course is part of the Because We Win team, I think he might have lived there for a little while. He was a scout for French football for a long time, travelled around France, so knows the country across the channel like the back of his hand. So James is a man to know for restaurants and bars. And so on. Welcome everybody in. Byron says funk, gospel or country. Well, that was Captain Beefheart. It's labelled that, Byron. I'm not a huge fan of Captain Beefheart. And neither is Jack Wright because he's vegetarian, of course. Rick says morning all. Yeah, Rick says morning
Captain
all.
Hart, he calls him.
He does. Duncan afternoon all. And RHM says Genoa and both teams to score better the day, question mark. We're going to be talking Italian football a little bit later. Byron says Genoa minus a quarter on the Asian for him. Lots to talk about over the course of the next half an hour. Let us know what you're betting, of course. I've got the YouTube comments open up here. And lots bet over the course of the weekend. Not surprisingly, a lot on the NFL. Just to rattle through some of the big winners and losers here, Simon. I don't know how your betting weekend went, but hopefully it was as good as this customer for Bet Rivers. $58,000 play on the Chiefs on the money line, minus 132, which was a winner. We had a $24,000 play on the overs in the Villa West Ham game, which was a loser. $23,000 play on the Commanders, plus 6 on the spread against the Eagles, which was a loser. Much to the disappointment of one of our producers, Troy, is a Commanders fan. He was hoping to go all the way to the Super Bowl. It didn't quite work out. And there were some hefty bets on the Chiefs-Bills game on the under 50.5 points, which was a loser. And Liverpool-Ipswich over 3.5 Asian total, which was a winner, 21,000 play. So some hefty bets were struck. Some won, some lost, as is the way. Now, as an Everton fan, Simon, you've got to be pleased about the way that the second coming of David Moyes has started, because you are pulling away from the relegation zone. And as we just take a quick recap of what's going on when it comes to top 4, top 6 and relegation, you'll be pleased to see that Everton are now 10-1 for the drop. Not so long ago, they're around about 2-1, plus 250, plus 300, something like that. It's going well with Mr. Moyes.
It's going more than well. With any luck, Dan, in a couple of weeks, they'll be in that left-hand column there. It really is going fantastic for the old Premier League outright. Of course, Night Owl John, who does all our graphics, the Brighton fan, I messaged you on Saturday. He was a broken man. I implored everyone. I'm not after timing here, Dan. I implored everyone to get involved on the Toffees. And I watched the highlights when I got back from Cheltenham. And let me say this, it was a white knuckle ride the last 10 minutes. I don't know how Everton hung on, but we've just said, I've just said to you there, these are the same players who were so awful just 3 weeks ago. It is incredible. Talk about a new broom. The second coming. And if this continues, I see Everton having a really big end to the season, entering the new stadium next year, full of expectation and with maybe some new signings in the summer. So what a couple of weeks to be an Everton fan. The depths of despair to now looking up that table.
Yeah, you play Bournemouth in the FA Cup in the fourth round at home. You never know. Everton could be
You
set
never know. It could be
for a bit
there.
of a
Could be the
crud.
year. Yeah.
What caught your eye at the top of the table, Simon? Obviously, Liverpool keep on winning. Arsenal, that controversial win over Wolves with the controversial sending off at least. But in terms of top four, City beating Chelsea means there's been a bit of a mover in that particular market.
Yeah.
City are now minus 225, Chelsea minus 155. Forest, that we've been bigging up recently, obviously thumped at Bournemouth. Bournemouth now 5-1 for a top four finish.
Incredible.
The last time we were speaking about this, I was fairly sweet on Forest, but that was a poor result at the weekend. What's your latest take on the top four situation, or top six for that matter? Bournemouth plus 110 for a top six finish.
Well, I hope people were watching last time we were on, Dan. I wouldn't say that lightly, but I hope people watched, because you said that Man City will still be second. And, of course, now a little return to form. I wonder if we all got a bit excited about Chelsea a bit too early in the year. And they look like they're a team with very little plan B and C to me. I don't know what you think. I thought Man City played really well, and they must be building confidence week on week. But the story is, we've all been talking about Notts Forest the last couple of weeks, quite rightly. I mean, at the start of the year, Bournemouth Forest would not have been a game you've been getting in the diary to look at for Champions League place. It would have been a relegation dogfight. Bournemouth have got this huge injury list, and somehow they've just developed this style of play. I think it's the story of the season. I think it's unbelievable. Were they to get in the Champions League, and of course the possibility of the fifth place, I mean, is it beyond the realms that Bournemouth and Forest could be in the top five? What odds would you have got on that at the start of the year?
I'll tell you what,
I thought Bournemouth were superb. I really do. And I think that they're on a roll. I wouldn't want to play them. I don't want Everton to play them in the cup, but I would not want to play them at the moment. Anybody, even Liverpool.
Yeah, going to be an interesting game against Liverpool, isn't it? At the weekend,
Yeah.
I think around about 4-1, 9-2, something like that, to win that game at home. Of
A bit of
course,
value. Value.
Yeah, we will be looking at that one on Thursday. For you, Ming says hello, guys. Baron says, do we see KG Burnley Leeds match tonight? Wilfred, Burnley 0 over 11 corners. We're going to get into it in just a second for you. Ming says Simon must be happy with the Everton revival. Duncan says Leeds to beat Burnley tonight. Chris says, glad that I'm better. Did I get any TLC from the Betting Weekly crew? Well, what do you think? Do you think people are nice to me, Chris? They're not. Look at Simon shaking his head. I just got all
Why
sorts of
single out
everybody.
the crew? Nobody's nice to you.
Stephen says there's a Liberal referee in the Genoa game, but I still really like Bianco shown a card at around about plus 450. That's 550 decimal, isn't it? Desperate times calls for desperate measures. Just pure luck he didn't get booked last time out. Obviously, we know that across where Bet Rivers have markets, not every single state can play those cards. What else have we got here on messages before we get into the Burnley Leeds game? RHA Burnley Leeds, both teams score is a nice price at 220. What's that? That's plus 120. US. Snacks Monster says, were there any highlights from the Brighton game, Simon? Harsh. Were there any? Apart from the goal.
There were quite a few, actually, Snacks Monster, my old mate, and I know exactly who that is, so you Brighton fans can button it.
Stephen says, Genoa at 2.25 screams hands off. It's still Serie A week. We're talking the price is weird and the bookmakers are just licking their lips. Maybe stay away from that one. Let's take a look at the prices that Bet Rivers have got for us when it comes to this Burnley game. And incidentally, the Burnley Leeds game, if you've got a Bet Rivers account in the States, you'll be able to stream this one live, as you will the Alaves Celta Vigo game in La Liga and the Cadiz Miranda's game in the second tier, plus there is French second tier football as well. And we've got the tennis live for you on the site and the app as well. That's the ATP action from Montpellier and the WTA action from Linz. And we will be talking tennis a little later in the show. Come for the football, stay for the tennis. The soccer looks like this tonight. Massive game, Simon, as we've mentioned. 2-1 Burnley, 2-1 the tie. Leeds are the favourite. I mean, should they be that? I mean, this is the first thing for me. Should they be the favourites here? Because I look at Burnley's home record. They're unbeaten in the league this season. I know they've drawn an awful lot, but Leeds have been a little bit flaky outside of Ellen Road. I mean, just on the money line, I'm not quite sure the prices that are right. I'm not saying I should be, backing Burnley. I don't think I'm going to be backing Burnley. full stop. But Leeds as favourite, would you get that right? Do you think the bookmakers have got that right, the traders?
I agree with you. I think Leeds are very, very short when you look at all these other components. Let's be clear, this is the game of the championship so far this year. It is an absolute stonker. I mean, this is going to be a Premier League game, in my view, next year. Burnley have let in, for just one thing for people that are thinking of getting stuck into Leeds at plus 125. And Leeds, the exciting goal machine, so many friends that are Leeds fans. My nephew's going to be there tonight. They cannot see Leeds being stopped this year, but Burnley have let in 9 goals. Now, the Championship, it isn't the quality of the Premiership, but it's a viciously tough league, 2 games a week, aggressive football. The referees let a lot more go in this league. To let in 9 goals shows you that this Burnley defence is absolutely watertight. And at home, yes, they draw a lot. They don't let hardly any in, and they don't score that many. So there's a lot of 1-0s and a lot of draws. But if anyone thinks Leeds are going to come here and roll them over to merit that price, there'll be a lot of better plus 125 shots away from home. In my view, Dan, I think it's wrong.
I think, look, you speak to the pundits who follow the Championship week in, week out, and they keep on telling me that Leeds are the best team in the division. They have won their last 3 in all competitions to 0, but their record against the top 8 this season isn't great. They've only won 2. They've both been at home. They've only won 5 games in the Championship on their travels this season, and 4 of those 5 against teams in the bottom half. I can make a case for sort of Burnley, but I'd want them to be a little bit bigger to win the game because they draw an awful lot as well. I mean, as you mentioned, they've only conceded 9, in the league this season, only 4 at home, clean sheets in their last 7. I know they're a little bit fortunate against Sunderland, James Trafford, with those 2 penalty saves. It would have been different. But I just think that you've got to try and get Burnley on side somehow. I mean, the way I'm going to play this one tonight, Simon, I'm going to play Burnley all the tie, and I'm going to parlay that with under 2.5 goals. It comes out around about minus 115. That's going to be my main play tonight. What's your main play on the Burnley game? I
like the draw here. I like the draw. I think it's cracking value. Also, this is a wet Monday night in Burnley. This is not going to be glamorous in any way. And I just think the weather is going to be made for this Burnley sort of rear guard. And if this gets to 70, 75 minutes and it's still 0-0, is it a disaster for either of these 2 teams?
Completely agree. Tonight? Yeah, completely agree.
I'm not so sure that this won't then play out and might be a bit of a damp squib. If we're on the draw, the other bet, I think is 0-0 comes into play here. And of course, everybody will think that's crazy given Leeds' record, but I keep coming back to this. Burnley are just... they remind me, they're a Championship version of the great Arsenal defence, aren't they? Just you turn up and expect, well, we're not going to score. Let's see if we can get a draw. So the tie at plus 200 is a bet for me. I want it to be a damp squib, and I'm going 0-0. Now, I'm not sure whether there is a no goal scorer. Obviously, if you get that option, take it. But I would imagine around plus 600.
Let's have a look for you. 0-0 in the game between the 2. It'll be fairly short. Latest price is plus 525. I mean, Player HD has come on, and just suggested that the side bets here are 0-0 and 1-1. I can't.
I like that.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, Lee said Leeds to win and under 2.5 goals, and I get what Stephen's saying as well here. Burnley have rode their luck. Only one team has suffered less chances against, and that's Leeds, who have a far superior offensive edge, which is very true. If you look at shots, if you look at shots on target, you look at goals scored, Leeds are top in all of those categories. I don't deny that, but James Trafford's probably the best keeper in the division. I think that Thomas Tuchel's looking to get me in the England squad upcoming. Steve, who's a Leeds fan, has joined us. Steve Wiss, our colleague, says Leeds are miles better than any other team. The problem is the keeper. Yeah, there's been an awful lot of howlers. Steve says, I'm on Mrs. Wiss's side. Leeds are by far the best team, but Melier is scary bad. What else we got? Justin Ripley says, cards for me, both teams, 2 or more cards. Last fixture between the 2 had 9 cards. Yeah, Burnley won that one away from home and Ellen Road. A lot of the metrics suggest that, Leeds are going to create a lot of chances and Burnley are going to have to defend very well. But that's what's happened all season long. In terms of cards, you've got a little bit of a prop bet, Simon, that you want to throw out there for bettors that can play in the cards market.
Yeah, just something that I've noticed really about one particular player, and I think this is going to be like a needle game, and that's the Leeds striker to be booked.
Joel Pirot?
Joel Pirot. Yeah, Joel Pirot. Now, I've noticed with this guy, very, very good player. But if it's one of those nights that's not going his way, he is a little bad-tempered. And I just wonder if they might rile him up a bit. There'll be a lot of aerial challenges tonight. And I think him to get booked isn't a bad little play. The longer this goes on, and I expect it to be goalless, deep into the second half, I just think he may well go. And he was plus 550 when I looked at lunchtime.
Have a look at that. Have a look at the player shown the card market, around about plus 550 for Joel Pirot. He's got 10 goals this season. He's a plus 325 price to get the to score at any time. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in this one. Strauchy's missing, isn't he, for Leeds? I know Bamford doesn't really start games anyway. He's going to be out. I know that Burnley have got one or two players. Rick says I'm going to go 0-0 and Burnley 1-0. I couldn't put you off that.
Good move, Rick.
Yeah, I just think Burnley's home record and Leeds have just been a little bit flaky on their travels. I understand that, Leeds will probably win one of these big games sooner rather than later, but what we've seen so far this season doesn't really bear that out. Steve, Lee wants your prediction. There we go, 1-1. Yeah, we'll take 1-1. I'll take one. I'm going to go under 2.5. Yeah, under 2.5 and Burnley or draw for me.
But we all win then.
Yeah, I get where the Leeds bettors are coming from. That's
but
the big game.
Have they done these big wins against the lower teams, though, Dan?
Yeah.
This is slightly different, isn't it? This is the team that are going into this game in their last 5 league games. I think, is it three wins and 2 draws, Burnley, or certainly unbeaten in 5. This is not a team that's going to be terrified of Leeds in the way that some of the lower championship teams are, in my view. And I just think Scott Parker as well he'll be ready for what Leeds bring.
Yeah, look, both coaches we know can get teams out of that division. They've done it before.
Oh, I think the both go up.
Yeah. Mate SK says my is undrawn. I bet Leeds. That's fair. Joe Bama says Brownhill to score or assist. Yeah, we talked to Jack Wright about Brownhill on the show when Burnley were on a Friday night game not so long ago. Didn't manage to get on the score sheet on that occasion, but his stats are really good, Joe. I understand where that one comes from. Leeds might win with a clean sheet. He says, so that's a bit of a scary pick. Player Cam HD says, when is the newsletter out? Well, I presume it's out today, is it not so? And you've got a bit of newsletter.
So. Got some news on the newsletter. The newsletter is 7 units up, and the last 8 bets, 7 winners and 1 push. And James Eastham, the maestro himself, who went clean sweep again this weekend, is featured in the newsletter. So please, and of course, if you do sign up, you're going to be able to see the Champions League last run of games betcast with Nigel Seeley and the great Steve Wiss, exclusive the newsletter.
Yeah, that is on Wednesday. You'll only be able to watch it. Yeah, only able to watch it if you sign up for the newsletter, bettingweeklystudios.com. It's on the YouTube page. Sign up for that. Duncan says, always a chance of a striker taking a shot off of scoring as well. That is true. Ming says, I think Leeds see Burnley as the bigger threat, so would take the draw. Completely
I agree.
With that one, Ming.
I agree.
Hannibal Mejbri gets some minutes off the bench. He's bound to get booked. Yeah, he's a bit combustible, AD. That is very true. And Stephen says, after Pro 7 card season with Swansea, he's eased up a little bit. 3 yellow cards over the last 2 seasons. Tonight's referee rarely shows cards to strikers. Statistically, to get value, he would need to be 15. Not for me, says Stephen.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Don't blind us with stats and numbers, Stephen, because you'll win.
101% of the time.
Players has not received. Player has not received the newsletter yet. Don't worry, that will come out.
It's on the way.
Fully real says Burnley versus Leeds. Leeds only kept clean sheets at home. So look, we'll see what goes out with that one. Look, plenty of other football tonight. Lots of soccer to talk you through, and Simon's going to rattle off Nigel's tennis picks for tonight and tomorrow. So stay with us for that. Let's take a look at some of the Serie A action here and the Spanish football for you as well. In fact, just before we do that, let me just tell you where we've got some money in that Burnley Leeds game. Money line. This is from our Bet Rivers traders. 86% of the money, 81% of the tickets on Leeds. So Leeds are well fancied.
Wow.
And remarkably for me, on the overs and unders, 80% of the money has gone on overs. We've had a $700 play on Burnley over 3.5 total corners. Leeds have been backed on the Asian line and also over 2 on the Asian goal line as well. So that's where the money's been going ahead of that game. It's 3 p.m. and it's live on the BetRivers website and the BetRivers app as well. Let's talk Serie A and La Liga football then. We've got 2 games in Serie A and 1 in La Liga. Our BetRivers colleagues have just furnished me with 1 or 2 specials. One of them that's quite good, actually. Joel Poyampolo or Cooper Tengstedt. This is the Venezia Verona game to score one or the other. So you get 2 runners for you here in the match. It's -110. Poyampalo scored against Parma on his last outing. He's on penalties. He's got 6 this season, netted 22 in Serie B last term. And Tengstedt, who's the Danish striker for Verona. He's on loan from Benfica. He's also on penalties. He scored in the reverse fixture. It's not the worst special for that one. But if you look at some of the stats for these 2 teams, it's 19th versus 18th. On the 6-match form, it's 14th versus 13th. On the 8-match form, it's 15th versus 16th. They are so closely matched that I think the draw, the tie, at +235 is probably my lean for this one. Verona have managed only 1 draw all season, a bit of regression, surely another draw here. It's the joint fewest across all 5 top divisions in Europe, along with Le Havre and Brest of Liga. So I'm going to lean on the draw for that Venezia Verona game. And in Genoa against Monza, if you haven't seen the European show, I know it came out on Friday. I know we've had a weekend's worth of action, but Steve Wiss has got an official play in that game. So it's a 1-unit play. If you dig out the extra time European show, you will get the official play from Steve. So it's a 1-unit pick on that Genoa Monza game. So if you want to just go back to that, it's on the YouTube site, obviously. So I won't reveal what Steve goes for. Have a look at that. It's right at the end of the show. So it's, I don't know, something like 40 minutes in. You can have a look at that at YouTube and get a pick. In terms of what we've got on our commenters here, what have we got? Lamry Shan says, how can I sign up for the newsletter? It's bettingweeklystudios.com, is it? Simon, bettingweeklystudios.com. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So www.bettingweeklystudios.com. All you got to do, head to that, pop your email address in, Lamray, and you will get all of the exclusive content every single Monday, and you'll get invited to 1 or 2 special shows that we've got coming up as well. Stephen says 6-pointer in Serie A, 2 teams that have been really vulnerable at set pieces, taking the likes of Calaviglia assist, Idzes headed goal at 61, Lazovic assist, Gilardi headed goal. Stephen's done a little bit more homework than I have on this one. Mate SK says Venezia Verona and Alaves Celta Vigo. For me, both teams to score, yes. Not the worst shouts, I think, certainly for the latter. And Joe Bam says Balotelli to be booked if he plays. I don't know if he's fit or not yet. Me neither. He's not really been featuring, has he? He fell out with Patrick Vieira when he was when the pair were at Nice, I think. Let's get into that Spanish game because Simon, you've taken a look at this one for us. I've got 1 or 2 ideas as well. Alaves up against Celta Vigo here. Alaves are the favourites +165. The draw looks very short here. Celta Vigo at 2-1. What's your thoughts on this one, Simon?
Well, generally, the draw has been backed in the last 24 hours for this game. I've noticed across various platforms. I'm sure on BetRivers as well. My play in this is, I think, like you, both teams to score and over 2.5, particularly with the presence of this Celta Vigo side that do like to score, but appear to be whatever the polar opposite of Burnley is in defensive strategy. Celta Vigo. I tell you what, I know they're busy tonight, but if Celta Vigo can get a little bit of time to watch the Burnley, even if it's only the highlights, and work out where you're supposed to stand to stop the other team scoring all the time, I'd think forget the betting on the outright here. Just keep it simple. Both teams to score and over 2.5 because I cannot see these two keeping clean sheets.
Yeah, only the top 5.
This would be the best game of the night to watch.
Yeah, I think it could be. I look, myself and Steve, right at the start of the season, about 3 or 4 games into La Liga season, we thought Celta Vigo are going to be one to watch because they were wild, they scored a lot, but they conceded. They went a little bit quiet, but recently the goals have come and they've been conceding as well. I mean, only the top 5 have scored more than Celta Vigo this season. Only 4 teams have conceded more. They don't necessarily win games, but both teams to score, yes, has hit the last 4, over 2.5 has hit the last 4. And Alaves are the highest scorers in the bottom 6 and 7 of the last 8. Both teams to score, yes. They don't win. You can't trust them on the money line. No. And also head-to-head. Yeah, head-to-head, 5 of the last 6 over 2.5 goals. I think over 2.5 goals, both teams to score. My preference will be for over 2.5 goals. It's a slightly bigger price. I think over 2.5 goals. As it stands, is what plus 120. I mean, plus money. If you back both of these teams, every single game in La Liga this season over 2.5 goals, you are making money.
There you go.
Joe says Garcia to score a brace at 10s. He scored a hat-trick in the last match. Yes, he did. Good shout. And Simon says Balotelli didn't even train yesterday, not in the match day squad. You'll see him in Dubai or something. You probably see him next to Nigel in Montpellier. Somewhere on the tennis. That's for sure.
And they'll be arguing.
Yeah, most probably. So look, as far as we're concerned, or as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to go a lean on the tie between Venezia and Verona. Have a look at Steve's preview, or listen to Steve's preview. Yeah. Steve Wiss on Genoa Monza. That's an official 1-unit play. You can find that at the back end of the Euro Show Extra Time on the YouTube channel. And for Alaves, Celta Vigo, what we're saying, over 2.5, both teams to score. We're splitting our stakes here, Simon, for those two.
Yeah, definitely. Strong bets.
Right, okay, that's the soccer. Stick with us for the tennis. Obviously, it's not really myself and Simon's area of expertise.
I'm not sure. If this goes well, this is a collaboration between me and Nigel.
Collaboration. If these selections from Nigel Seeley, the top man who's given us his picks, exclusive picks for the live show today, if these come in, we'll it's reflected glory. If they win, if they win, it's myself, Simon, and Nigel. It's
a collaboration, yeah.
If they lose, it's Nigel.
The man in Montpellier is on his own.
Right, we've got 3 tournaments to take a look at. Simon, you've got the details from Nigel here. First up, now these are tonight in Singapore, stateside. We've got Rebecca Marino against Xinyu Wang, and also Taylor Townsend against Elise Mertens. What is the line? What is the word when it comes to these
playing
games?
In both these games, Dan.
Go on.
We're playing Marino on the handicap, the plus 2.5. Wang is the number 4 seed. Now she's going to take a hell of a lot of money for this, but Marino had a lot of injury problems, but played really well in the Australian Open. Now, both of these lost their first round match. Now, they have identical records this year, but Wang is a heavy favourite because the game is being played in the Far East. And it is our belief that has been factored in too heavily into this market. So we're going to go Marino on the handicap.
So Marino on the handicap. Is that the only play in Singapore?
Oh, no. We have the other match. Oh, yes. Oh, we're nowhere near being done in Singapore, then. Let me sling another one in. We've got... Thank you very much. We've got... Mertens is the number 2 seed, but talk about false favourite. Never, ever lives up to it. Can't understand why he's always so short. Taylor Townsend here. Now, there has been money, but plus 210, we feel is too big here. Also, North American women's tennis flying, of course, after the great Madison Keys win in the Australian Open. And she'll get that fast court that she loves. And Mertens, he prefers a slower surface. So this market, we feel, is completely wrong. We're going Taylor Townsend on the outright, plus 210.
Plus 10. Taylor Townsend is the
plus
pick
210.
when it comes to the second game there in Singapore. What about in Linz?
We've
got Siniakova against Avanesian and Tauson against Kalinina. Once again, this is in the WTA. What have you got for us here via Nigel?
We are playing a parlay in this. We are playing. Let me just remember my notes here, Dan.
Yeah.
We're playing Avanesian and Tauson. Okay. We actually think, of course, the great Rory Giovanni and Nigel have covered this. So please do check that out. on their broadcast there that Towson is a decent bet at 10-1 each way to win the whole thing. So let's keep it simple. Let's parlay them. And she's a special talent. Her only loss this year was to the world number 1, Sabalenka. That's Towson. So we're going to parlay Venezia and Towson in this game. Keep it simple.
Okay, those are the 2 picks in Linz in Austria. And then we get to the men's tour, ATP, Montpellier. Nigel's not going to be here for these games because these are Tuesday games, but I think Nigel's going to be rocking up on Wednesday. So obviously we'll have updates via Instagram, and of course the Game Better Match with Sean, no doubt, will be updated, or at least Nigel will be putting some pics on the Instagram. What do we like, or what does Nigel like here? What's the word, Simon?
Well, I will be in constant contact from Wednesday to Friday with Mr. Seeley courtside there. So please, if you see any security, try and get them to look the other way, and then I can be, communicating my thoughts to him. The bet here is Harold Mayot to beat Rinderknech, old Arthur there, at plus 140. Played well in this tournament before. Rinderknech is in an almighty slump. Dan, you thought you were in a slump. This guy's lost his last 5 matches. An extraordinary, awful value pricing here, especially as Harold Mayot has got a good record in this tournament and should not be the underdog that Bet Rivers make him.
So just remind us of the pick.
Harold Mayot in the outright plus 140 to beat Arthur Rinder, the other guy in the game. So that's Harold Mayot. And then the other ones, we're going to parlay Venezia and Tauson in the WTA at Linz.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got the 2 singles. We've got Rebecca Marino on the handicap. And we are playing Townsend in the outright at plus 210. So it's going to be a busy night for us on the tennis, young Dan. Very busy.
Look, I think you conveyed Nigel's thoughts better than the great man himself. I think there
collaboration. I've known him a long time. We never say, "Oh, we picked this" or "He picked that." It's always collaborative.
Exactly.
Because Dan, it's always better when we win together.
Absolutely. Don't worry about that. And Nigel's listening in. You can see there. Mertens is well. Yeah, we knew that. Come on, she, he said.
See, that's cruel, that one.
That is cruel. You don't need to pick us up on things like that. Come on. Back to the football. Stephen says Celta will be without their best scorer, Aspas, and assist king Mingueza tonight. So, Stephen, nice little bit of team news there. So what is the bet, Steve? You're going to have to be quick because we're wrapping things up here. Let's just remind everyone what we are going for when in the Burnley game. Simon, what are you going for? I'm going to go Burnley or the draw and under 2.5 goals. It's around about minus 113, and that's my best play for the championship game.
I'm going to draw in the outright. I think it's exceptional value at plus 200. And I'm going for a 0-0, a complete shutout. In this year of overs and high-scoring games, Dan, please let's see a boring, dour 0-0 on a Monday night in Burnley.
We're going for the draw in the Venezia match. Steve's got to play in the Genoa game if you head to the extra time section of our YouTube the channel. And we're also going to go for overs and or both teams to score in the Alaves game as well. And Steve just flanked in with a Ligue 1 selection as well. He's going on the 2.5 game. I don't know which game it is. Something in the French game tonight. I presume there's only one game in. There's only one game being played. It is, in fact, I know what it is. Hold on, caller, because it is the game featuring Annecy and Dunkirk. Ligue 1. You can watch that one live on the Bet Rivers app and the Bet Rivers website. And just to wrap up with where a little bit of the money's been going when it comes to those games in Italy and in Spain, Venezia, Verona, most of the money, 57% of the money has come on Venezia, 63% of the tickets on Verona. So the pro money on Venezia and the public money on Verona. Most of the money has gone on the overs there. Gianluca Busio, who's a good young American player, probably not so young these days, he's been back for over half a shot on target at plus 170. That's very James Easton play there. $450 play on Busio. Really good, clever, scheming midfielder. In the Genoa Monza game, we've had support for over 3.5 total corners. Also, Stefano Sabelli under shots on target. We've had some money for Genoa on the draw no bet game market, and also Genoa -1 on the Asian line, which is around about plus 250. And in the Alaves Celta Vigo game, we've had money in near 4-figure play on the double chance Alaves or Celta Vigo. Also, Kike Garcia over 1.5 total shots, and over 2.5 total goals has also been bet as well. We like that particular play. That wraps it up for today. Simon, thanks for your company. Enjoyed it as per
Pleasure, Dan. I hope you
usual.
feel better soon, mate.
Yeah, no, thank you. Look, I'm struggling along. Hopefully, I'll be better for the European show and the Premier League show a little bit later. Are you back on duty for the live show later this week? I believe is that true.
I believe I am going to host on Friday with the great Jack Wright, so I'm looking forward to that. Start your weekend here with Betting Weekly Live. What better way to start it? And what an exciting weekend it will be, I'm sure. So see everybody then.
Great stuff. Many thanks to Simon. Make sure you sign up to the newsletter if you want to watch the Betcast with Nigel and with Steve for match day 8 of the Champions League. That will be something special. Plenty of games going on at the same time. We see if we get some draws in the Champions League this midweek. There have been so few draws. It's been incredible. Sign up for the newsletter. Many thanks for everyone who's joined us on this Monday morning. And we've got more for you over the course of the week with live shows at 11 Eastern. And, of course, plenty of content from Nigel out in the tennis this week. From
Montpellier.
myself, and from Simon, though, that is your lot for today.